Hello, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Stephanie Kawaja here, your host. And in this video episode, whether you're watching live, YouTube, or on the podcast, we are going to be going over how to prime your metabolism for fat loss. This is something that is a sort of unspoken trick or tactic that really is something that gets missed a lot of the time in a fitness journey. And if you're someone that's kind of been dieting on and off, or you feel like you're not eating a lot of food, but you're not seeing changes in your body, this one's specifically for you. And it's especially for you if you feel like you could not sustainably drop your calories or intake anymore if you wanted to lose fat loss in a sustainable way. So in order to do this, what we need to first talk about is the benefit to priming your metabolism, and then we'll go into how to actually use this for fat loss. And I'm just going to share a little story about myself in what's actually worked for me and what hasn't. So for about 7 years, I was constantly trying to diet or cut calories. First of all, the first mistake I made was focusing on weight loss, not fat loss. And so the problem with this is that I was constantly going up and down in terms of my caloric intake, and I felt like there was a point where I was eating very little, but I could not actually drop my calories anymore in a sustainable way without basically losing my sanity and feeling extremely hungry or feeling like my relationship with food would worsen. Hello, everybody. So when we don't have a prime metabolism, just some symptoms for this are if you feel like you are eating very little calories right now and you're not seeing changes in your body. That's number one. Number two, you have a lot of cravings. You really cannot control your cravings. You have a very low energy. Your sleep is poor. You might be having an inconsistent period. Really a lot of signs and symptoms that could come down to the fact that you are not in a sustainable, nutrition maintenance, or you're not eating the right way for your body. And so the problem with this is if you are wanting to see changes in your body and you need to be in a calorie deficit to do that, in order to do that, you would need to drop your calories, but it's not sustainable. And so for me, the most important thing that I actually had to come to terms with, and it was a hard truth that I had to face, was that I actually had to start focusing on priming my metabolism, meaning bringing my calories back up to my maintenance level before I could actually focus on fat loss. Because if I tried to drop my calories even more, it would just further worsen my cravings, my cycle, my energy, my mental health, my sleep, all of that. And so in order to prime your metabolism, essentially what this means and what we do in our one-on-one coaching programs with anyone that comes to me that has been dieting for years on and off, even if it hasn't been a consistent amount of dieting, if you feel like you're kind of constantly in a calorie deficit, I'm specifically talking to you. So there's the difference between your actual maintenance and your predicted maintenance. So your predicted maintenance means your total estimated daily energy expenditure. So the amount of energy your body burns on a daily basis, but this is an estimation. So for example, for a 160-pound female, she operates day to day. She has a desk job, but she walks a lot and she goes to the gym. Her predicted, daily targeted energy expenditure might be 2,300 calories. However, she is actually only eating 1,800 calories and her weight is staying the same. So the difference between your predicted energy expenditure and your actual maintenance, the maintenance is what you're actually eating right now for your body to stay the same, and the predicted is what you really should be at. And so if we take this example for this 160-pound female who wants to lose body fat, for her to go and drop, for example, a pound of fat per week, she would need to be eating 1,300 calories because it's a 500 calorie deficit per day over the course of a week. That would equate to 1 pound. The problem with this is that 1,300 calories is very low and it's very unsustainable. If she wanted to lose 10, 15, pounds of body fat, it's going to be really hard to do that. And so for this woman, what she would first need to do is basically start bringing her calories back up to her predicted maintenance so that once she gets to that 2,300 calorie mark, she is now in the right phase and the right, metabolic standpoint and fueling her body properly to be able to lose fat. So just a caveat to this, and something that's really important to note, is a lot of the time I get, women coming to me feeling like they don't eat a lot. But when we actually get them to track their food, they realize they are actually eating their maintenance or more. And so it's really important to be 100% sure that you are actually eating below your predicted maintenance. And the best way to do that is to track everything you eat for a couple of weeks and actually see, am I losing weight? Am I gaining weight? Am I staying the same? And depending on how your body changes, you can tell if you are in a surplus, a maintenance, or in a deficit. So that's really important to note before we actually go into a reverse, which is what I'll talk about next. It's actually important to really confirm that you are eating lower than what you should be. So let's talk about the next thing in regards to how to actually build and prime your metabolism. So to prime your metabolism, essentially what we mean in this regard is, first of all, we need to actually have quality of nutrients in terms of not just focusing on calories, but also focusing on eating food that has the micronutrient density that is going to fuel your immune system, your energy, your cells, like just your body on a cellular level. And this means focusing on, whole unprocessed foods and ensuring that you are slowly bringing your calories back up. So this is what we call something like a reverse. So a reverse diet is really meant for you if you feel like let's say you just came out of a fat loss phase and you want to can maintain the results that you're at, you would slowly bring your calories back up through a reverse in order to get back to your maintenance without gaining a lot of weight. It's also used for people who, like I've said, if you're in this position where you want to see changes in your body, but you cannot sustainably drop your calories anymore in order to lose fat, this is where we would do a reverse. So this is the process of gradually increasing your caloric intake every week in a very small amount. You can do it conservatively or you can do it aggressively. The more aggressive you do it, the more fat you are likely to gain. So I always recommend with my clients to do it very conservatively, which is no more than a 5% increase each week or every 2 weeks of your carbs and fat. Protein is going to stay the same. So every week, if your body, basically, if you're only gaining the weight in the way that you're like able to sustain. So you would determine previously prior to the reverse how much you are okay with actually gaining each week. And so generally it's about 0.2 to 0.4 pounds per client. Sometimes it can actually be less. And this is where you decide what you're actually comfortable with doing entering into this phase. And then every week, if you are within that range, you can increase your calories more. And you keep doing this consecutively until you get as close to your predicted maintenance as possible. Usually it's within 90% range. Now, it's important to note there is a chance you could gain fat in this period. I've actually had clients lose fat. So one of my clients right now, she has been eating very little. She was eating very little, coming to me 1,200 calories a day. And what we actually started doing was a reverse. Now, in the process of her reverse and increasing her calories, she actually lost weight. So how does that make sense? I know we're seeing a lot of things online where, people are saying, actually eat more and lose weight. Really scientifically, that doesn't work. So if you are actually eating more than what you're expending, you are going to gain weight. But what happens for the people that actually lose weight when they're eating more, this is because of two things. Number one, they were actually eating very little for a consecutive period of time. And then later on, 5 days or on the weekend, they actually ate in a surplus because they were so hungry and restricting themselves, actually putting them in a maintenance or a surplus. So just the act of actually eating more calories consecutively throughout the course of a week or 2 weeks prevented them from overeating later on and therefore actually staying in a calorie deficit. So that's the first thing. The second thing that could happen is because you're eating more, your body is fueled more, so you actually have more energy. And what's likely happening here is you're subconsciously moving around your day, like going, for more walks, using more hand gestures, talking more, getting up, and actually doing things that you don't realize that are actually putting your energy expenditure higher and therefore putting you in a deficit. So this is exactly what happened with my client currently. She's actually lost 4 pounds in the first month of a reverse, and she's eating more calories than what she perceives to be eating more calories. But the chances was that she was actually eating a lot more than she thought. And therefore, this has allowed her to have a sustainable approach. So this is a really, really crucial element. Again, if you are feeling like you're at a point where you cannot sustainably drop your calories anymore. And so again, if to go over the symptoms, if you think your metabolism is suppressed, these are some signs. So you're eating way less than you should be. Your energy levels are constantly low. You feel like maybe your body is holding on to fat, and you're hitting plateaus really quickly. So you might see changes in your body right away, but then after that, you're not seeing any changes in your body. And so all of these examples are times where we would use a reverse and priming your metabolism to build the right foundation. And that brings me to the third and final tip of this strategy. It's really important to focus on the foundational habits first before we focus on your physical changes. So one part of that is the reverse, but the other parts of that are actually developing a healthy relationship with food. Because again, if you are someone that feels like you are eating very little, but you're eating maybe 1,200 calories Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday come around and you actually end up eating 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 calories because you've been restricting yourself, this isn't about you needing to do a reverse or priming your metabolism. It's actually about you building a great relationship with food so that you can eat more food on a day-to-day basis and not have those restrict or overeating cycles that you currently do. The other part to building the right foundation of priming your metabolism is sleep. So it's very important to optimize your sleep before going to cut calories to see changes in your body. If you are someone that is only sleeping 5 hours a night, or you have very interrupted sleep and you're waking up extremely exhausted and tired, this is going to be exacerbated and also just magnified when you go into a fat loss phase or a calorie deficit. So if you already feel tired and you're already not sleeping well right now when you're not trying to focus on your changes in your body, then that's going to be even worse when you do. So setting that foundation to have good sleep schedules, to have good energy, is not only going to help set you up for success for this fat loss phase, but it is also going to help prime your metabolism. So it's going to help your muscle recover. You're actually going to be able to get higher quality sleep. So when we focus on more quality sleep, what's going to happen is this is actually where your muscles recover, where they actually get built. And so this is really important, because if you're going to go into the gym and you're going to start resistance training and you're going to train really, really hard, but then you're not going to sleep well, you're not going to see as many changes in your body, because again, that is where our muscles recover. It's also going to help with your immune system. It's going to help with hormone function. It's going to help with stress management, which is then going to help with your cravings. So all parts of priming your metabolism so that you can actually have an easy and efficient fat loss phase. Okay. And this is actually just one of my clients, Caitlin. She actually came to me sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night, and she had basically insomnia. And the key thing here was priming her sleep and optimizing her sleep. And after she did that, she started to see changes in her body because she didn't have as many cravings. She was able to make more educated decisions and have more mental clarity around food. So all of these things are super crucial. And then finally, of course, building a consistent workout routine. So if you are someone that wants to not just lose weight, but you also want to build muscle in the process, if we just go to cut calories without actually focusing on a consistent workout schedule, what's going to happen is you will lose total body mass, and that means you're losing some of your muscle mass. So if you want to have that toned, full muscle definition look, we need to make sure that we are consistent with our exercise so that when you are in a calorie deficit, you are not losing lean mass. And this is not just important for the way that you look, but it's also important for your bone density and, again, for your metabolism. So we went over these tips. If you feel like you're at the point where you're seeing some of those symptoms and you feel like your metabolism might be suppressed, just DM me at Steph Kawaja on Instagram, or you can book a free consultation call with me. I will link it below so we can actually chat about the right strategies for you to ensure that you actually hit your fat loss goals in a sustainable way without feeling too restricted. So super excited to have you on this episode. If you watched from my live, welcome. Hello. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat here. And otherwise, we'll hop off and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.